Hello and good evening.
Okay.
We're on. I pressed it, Kev. We was in the house. We made it 9:35. Saturday the 6th of the 6th, 20. And Kev, you want to say hello? What?
Hello, people. Nice to be here on a pleasant-ish Saturday evening. Feeling good, feeling quite energised, probably due to the amount of sleep that I keep having. Sorry, I've just noticed I've got volume on the laptop.
It's alright, no worries.
Uh,
I'll
that's,
answer
that's
you.
sorry. It's because I lent it to the woman. Oh, look what she's done to it. Touch my setting. Hello, everybody. Much love. All well here. Hope we're all well. Sorry, lost the plot there for a second. Good evening. Welcome back to the studio.
I've had a long week. I can't believe we're here. It's taken a long time to get here this week. I know we will have long trying weeks. It's not been the worst, but it has been a hot. It started off scorchio Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think, and I had to go and go back to war with the K, WORK.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's been a long week. I had Friday off. I've been relaxing. I've done some admin. Been out with Anne Marie, so all is well. All is good. I'm glad to be here. And I wasn't glad to be out there for lots of reasons. It's just travelling in itself is a nightmare, and then obviously doing jobs, getting into places safely, getting back. It's a nightmare, but I'm good, and I'm happy to see we've got a lot of activity. We had a good chat before. Kevin and I have just been nattering for an hour, I think, then easily about various bits and bobs. I've uploaded his conditional acceptance version 2. So yeah, if you want to just say a bit about that, Kev, or anything regarding the 2 additional bits on the top you've put there, and any information that's relevant, you can say again or re-encapsulate
no
if you don't
worries.
mind.
Yeah, so it's basically it's exactly the same as it was before. Conditional acceptance, schedule of fees, etc. Section 10 notice. But the first 2 questions now are what I've run through before. The first one is it mandatory? And the second one says something if yes, if the answer to question 1 is yes, then where have I, where have you disclosed, or where have I consented, or where is it if you've told me it's a requirement for me to hand my healthcare down? So that's the only difference. It's a little bit more bunched up, to be honest with you. I was going to space it all out properly, but I think it's just beyond that now. I think how it looks is the least of their problems, at least of our concerns. But as I say, you don't. They seem to be, as I was just saying to David, at the moment with what's going on, it all seems to be telephone assessments, which is ridiculous, quite frankly. How can anybody tell how ill whatever you are over the phone? Sorry, just doesn't make sense. But they also seem to be SMSing you the warnings or the times and the notifications of this telephone assessment. I would suggest that you could probably copy and paste that, or a lot of that document. I mean, I've got an option on my computer to convert it to email. So I would suggest if you're getting stuff now by email for assessments and notifications from them, you email the conditional acceptance to them. And I would send it to both. I would send it to DWP and to Atos Maximus Capita. But do it on, via email, because that's how they seem to be contacting everybody at this moment because of obviously this nonsense. Yeah, it's all valid. But what I will say, we have noticed, just talking with my co-conspirator, Graham, he had a little conversation the other day, and although he didn't get they were sort of avoiding answering what they're saying now. He was speaking to Atos, okay? So he's saying, like, right, is it mandatory? And they're saying yes. Now, I can tell you, I think it's 3 or 4 out of our 6 confirmations were from Atos saying no, it isn't. But what I think they're doing now is they're sort of right. It might be mandatory with the DWP. Is the sort of language they're using. So they're sort of saying yes, it is mandatory, but they're not the DWP. But so you've got to be careful what they're saying. And the other thing they kept saying was, do you want us to cancel the appointment? Now that's a trick, okay, people? That is a trick. So if you say yes, I'd like you to cancel the appointment, then the customer has asked us to cancel the appointment. They'll send that to DWP. Bosh, there goes your money. So don't fall for that one. Listen to what they're saying to you. Never refuse. Say, no, I'm not. I don't want it cancelled. I just either want a response to my lawfully given notice, conditional acceptance, or the right people. Medically, I need a medical assessment is what I need, not just a medical assessment, as that's what I previously had. So you get the right medically qualified people to assess me, and I'll be at that assessment forthwith. But they say, just listen to the language. Do you want us to cancel this appointment? If you say yes, you've just shot.
The reason that we would conditionally accept is because it is a mandatory procedure that does have to be entertained. So as this is a mandatory policy procedure of this company to have this in place, which isn't mandatory for man to undergo and participate in, you can conditionally accept it, but it's not rejected and it's not agreed to in these instances for these arguments. So you can then conditionally accept it and then ask them to give you the like for like comparative examination. It's just because we're saying that if you argue it or you accept it, you'll probably find yourself worse off. Here you sit, broken hearted, came to think and only farted, etc. So
Check him out.
Easy. I'm reading from the .com. It's a post on quantum that is above something here. But you're right. You condition. They're saying that they are, or the mandatory bit then is changing. Is you're saying that they're getting a bit clever with their answer earlier to me, Kev? That's why I said what I've said.
They're putting up a fight.
Yeah.
They're putting up a fight. But to say, in discussions I have with Gray, it sounds like yes, it is mandatory. But that's the DWP. Yeah, it's mandatory. They're claiming it's mandatory. To say, but I've had the DWP tell me it's not. So here you go. That was personally had them tell me that. So it just sounds like it's just bullshit and lies. We've had enough people. So we've got people that just the other week. No, it's not. Took them 2 phone calls. They got it. No, it's not. So it's not mandatory with Accessor. It might be mandatory with the DWP, and then of course, it's mandatory. Not mandatory for me to give my healthcare away to idiots. My medical healthcare away to idiots. That's not mandatory. And if it is, show me. Show me mandatory, and I've agreed to it. And that's it. It's done. It's done.
We get that. So they might say that it is now mandatory, and to that you can say such things as, thank you for that, because that's the reason why it's conditionally accepted as well. Because if you just say no, cancel it, then you've said to cancel it.
Yeah.
If they turn around and say, would you like us to cancel the appointment then? is another area that they might go down, I suppose, or they might ask you if they say to the, you said it earlier to me, these aren't my words, I'm just repeating yours, you was on about cancelling, yeah? Not to
Yes.
cancel it, we say not to, otherwise you'll be in trouble for
No, you.
cancelling.
Yeah. They say, "Do you want us to cancel it?" They would. No, you know, I don't wish it to be cancelled, but I do wish that the rightly qualified people, um, you know, do the assessment, which must be medically qualified. This is and the other thing they're doing is we challenged them on the BMA registrations of all their assessors. Okay, now remember, they would have to be BMA registered if they were medically qualified. So whatever that might be, but a medical qualification would allow them to make an assessment. So they would be BMA. But the people these lot are using, not BMA, so they go, no, they don't have to be registered. And that's actually true, because they're not medical healthcare professionals. They're just healthcare professionals.
Yeah.
So they're now sending you to a site when you've been offered a telephone assessment, and you've had a little bit of a question with them. It seems they're giving you a website and a PIN number, and I will find that it looks like you'll go with that PIN, and it will show you the assessor alleged qualifications, and there won't be medical qualifications. Let me, tell you that clearly now. And then you can still go back and challenge on the grounds that they're not medically qualified. If you've been done by a consultant in cardiology, for instance, then you don't go and see a healthcare professional who's been a nurse. I don't care for how long.
Unless the Surgeon General himself or themselves, on behalf of themselves, the office signs, like when you get cigarette warnings, back when we was using it'd say from the Surgeon General, and I'm like, who's this general? The Surgeon General, he must be an angry man, but they could be appointed underneath the Surgeon General, and then they have got crafty ways of, we've seen, but all right, that's just key important bits, topical bits that, like, you said something about a flow chart, did it? Just to finish off there as well, then, yeah, baby, nice one, getting there.
Yeah, Graham and I were chatting, obviously, we're chatting away about what's going on and how, because obviously we're trying to move with them. So Graham actually said to me, what about sitting down and putting a flow chart together, which usually, as usual for Graham, is a fucking class idea. So now we know they're starting to go, so we can start here with this question, ask this, if they'll respond either this or this, move on to this. So we're gonna put a flow chart together. We'll stick it up on the .com. It's something you could just download if you want, and maybe have it printed out in front of you, but you'll see, and the language they're using, as I say, is when they start saying things to you like, do you want us to cancel it? Don't ever answer that. No, I'd rather have all this nonsense out of the way, but it must be by the correctly qualified people. And let them cancel it, because it's what happened to G. They then went, I'm going to cancel that appointment. Right, you've cancelled it. You can't stop the money now. See, they're trying to trip you up. It's like if you used to go to the assessment, and you might start asking questions, and every time they'll have tried to answer a question, they'll say to you, "Are you happy to proceed?" The moment you say yes, that's fucking it. You're done. You've just contracted. So you just avoid. No, I just got another question. And then you go through your list of questions and say, I'm not happy at this time to go ahead because I don't think you're suitably qualified, medically qualified. That would be it. So never refuse. Don't try and be clever, and don't, just listen to what they're saying to you. Don't shoot yourself in the foot.
I'm hearing some Mozart's, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart's in the background for some reason, as you was just the syllables.
It's because of the gravity of my speech.
If they do this, do that. It's just a symphony. I'm sorry. I just thought I'd share that with all Wolfgang and Electric. It's the manoeuvres. It's a battle when we say it's warfare out there. When you consider fucking the state of the play, these three monkeys that I've posted, let's change and lighten it up a bit. The Dominic Cummings and Boris Johnson and Michael Gove, monkeys. Yes, commentary on that was good earlier, Kevin. Thanks for sharing that. I've put it
That's
on
disgusting, isn't it?
Yeah, fucking just goes to show you what liars and cheats and just spineless men that are in power they reckon they're in power. They're appointed. They are kind of I'm not saying it's genuine, but they've got resources more so than we at this moment. And I know we've got resources, but they've got.
They've got our resources.
Yeah, they've got arms, full arms, assembler, but they are just a bamboozled. To put it nicely, arseholes is what they look like when you lie like that openly in the public, and you can't even constructively. Boris just says, "Look, I've got some nice glasses." Everyone moving on. It takes him a minute to get that bit before Gove chips in after. These lot covered. Hey, this is Crown agents in their finest hour. James Bond. Go on, Kev. I'll let you speak.
They're shit. They're absolutely shit. This is what fucking public school system fucking turns out.
Yeah.
Fuck me. They're retards of the highest order. But if that's their level, what the fuck do they think of all of us? Because look at the shit they're trying to pull. Oh, Boris suddenly goes, oh look, since I've had it, I've suddenly got to start wearing these glasses that nobody's ever fucking seen me in the history of time wearing. All of a sudden they're in my pocket. And then go, I often go out and drive in my 2-ton death machine where my eyesight's all fucked up to see if it's all right. Come on, they need a fucking without due care and attention, the cunts.
Yeah, it's
Fuck them.
no, absolutely. The epitome of thank you for that passionate outburst. I'm inclined to to agree. It's not even funny than the people when man sees how they speak and how slimy they are, and they just can try to what levels of respect have they got for us to say that.
Buy this. This cunt's fucking gone and dropped us in it, going, I took a 30 because my eyesight was bad. I didn't go a little, or I didn't go for a little walk first and see what I was like with street signs. No, I got in my fucking death machine and went for a 30-mile one-way drive to see if my eyesight was fucked. So they go, this prick's dropped us in it. Right, what can I do? I'll say yes. Ever since the COVID, since I had the alleged COVID in hospital, I've had to carry. Did he actually say where, or did he say carry?
I don't know. Yeah, it was just.
That's what it says, then go. But yes, I think it's quite a reasonable practice to get in your car, in your death machine, and drive down the road when your eyesight's fucked up. I do that all the time. Makes perfect sense. Get fucked.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it is unbelievable.
I could walk up to, look him straight in the eye, straight in the forehead, fucking bang, have that. Look me in the eyes, you cunt. Bang.
Michael,
Bye.
yes, Govey is quite insipid. He's a bit like Matt Hancock. How I feel their energies, they're like demons in humans' bodies. If I may just say, they look devious and they look like they are. Smiling for not the reason why they are smiling in the public. They look like they're smiling for something more sinister than a hello smile. It looks like a smile of satisfaction to me. And the way that Gove slips and squirms and says, "But I'm not anybody who's a driving expert or anything. My. He's just a squirmy little worm," is what I saw there when he was trying to backpedal. And when the commentator, the presenter said, "Oh, you've done it now. Let me see how you get out of this one. This is bloody. He's getting the popcorn out of the interview. He's just broke out the popcorn."
I was like, "You twat. That's the best I could hope for. Get out of that."
If you was
Albert's in the room. Michael, Hello, mate. Albert, yeah, I had the same thing trying to get in tonight. Took forever for some reason.
What's
Anyway,
going on? All
sorry,
right.
that.
We're in. Really slow loading. Sorry, I don't know what go on, but it's good to see you, Papillon, Albert. We're talking about politics, news, Cummings, and that video that I uploaded that I got from Facebook there that Kev pointed me in the midst of. Could we talk about uniform commercial codes as well? You know, we come to see the languages of the court legalese, you know, the syntax, grammar, the new style of language that we are looking at, which is a language in itself, a format, and you know, as we're discovering, like the Latin is, like the legalese is, so the Oxford. There was a bit somewhere from Genesis about confusing their tongues that I read in a post that I'll try and find again. But yes, the UCC has been said to be maybe just localised to America, but we've been just you know, having a look to see if we'd think perhaps it may run in court systems and it may run in finance. If it's Temple BAR of America, then it may well be. Oh, I just found it then. It was there. Never mind. I'll get it again. So yeah, the language, the quantum language, is an interesting one. But UCC, would we say, would we? Yeah, I'd like to any comments on that as well. Because it's interesting. Genesis 11, chapter 11, verse 7, because it's only on a post I did today, in quantum language, come let us go down and take away the sense of their language so that they will not be able to make themselves clear to one another. I thought, why quantum can't be in the Bible? That would be a real delight to find something such as, but yes, Christopher Hitchens has been quite apparent in certain bits about the language and how we say things, and he's got quite not a snake tongue, but a cutting tongue. His tongue can cut you, is what it can do. Thank you for him, Kev. Yeah, I'm really loving a bit of Hitchens.
He's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, the best bits, videos on taking bits from him and just doing a bit of questioning myself now, back out for the late great man there that's got some unique argumentative ways of looking at religion, faith, and what it makes good people and bad people do, and if it was man-made, and who and why and what, and things of Confucius. He knows about certain things we've looked at ourselves, though, like the writings of the Ten Commandments before the Ten Commandments, and Christianity before Christianity, so ideologies that are taken from and merged into a monotheism. And I didn't realise how close to find somebody when you think you've seen everybody, like the what's his name now, fucking Norm Chomsky, and Alan Watts, and Napoleon Hills, and Romley Stewarts, and Santos Bennett. You think you've seen Winston Shrouch, you know, there's a lot of them, and Franco Collins, and you've found everybody, and you've dug them out, and then suddenly you find somebody that's been around for time. I was a bit like that with George Carlin. I didn't know him till a bit later on. And I'm like, fucking hell, this man's been around, I've never heard of him. Why have I never heard of this man? How can you hide somebody so great? How can he be hidden? So, no, maybe not so great, but so...
Have you done...
Yeah.
What about Bill Hicks?
Yeah, I've seen him when I was young, yeah. I did like him.
Because he was huge here.
Yeah.
They didn't really go down well in the States, but he was before his time as well, mate. The stuff he comes out with.
Prolific, yeah, and the reasons for. So yeah, there's a new style, a new language we're looking at. UCC, I'd say, is an applicable language to all Temple BAR. If the Temple BAR have made in America a language for states of trade and trading, then I'd say that the Crown London will have had some saying. It wouldn't have just originated from America exclusively, because they did have their independence and alleged wars and whatnot and separation from, but the London is still through the Pope and the Vatican, I'd argue, and the Church. So the Church has the Ecclesia, we've got the Maritime, the Admiralty, the Legalese, and then there's no babble as such there, but then you've got the bills of exchange and the transfer and endorsement system, which is like your double entry bookkeeping, which has got to be run on some kind of banking constitution, but not the banking constitution that we know of, because it's about debts and intrinsic with non-intrinsic value and credits and charges and monies and funds and trusts. So we don't get to see that. When you go to hospital, for instance, you don't get to see the national insurance number at work and how others can dip and charge and credit and deposit and move and offset and whatever it does. When you give that date of birth, national insurance number, and you go in and you get service, then there's payments happening because the hospitals, rent our own beds to us at £2.4 million, as I said in that Matt Hancock special with the Department of Health and Social Care. So what we're finding is that they're all running amok, and it's now costing us time, blood, sweat, and tears, and we have to say. Very politely, I suppose, what the fuck is going on here? Hello, so forgive us while we say that it is getting a bit silly now, texting and gadgetry, ones that can't use laptops, iPads, I dread to think how they get along if you've got an impediment. Yeah, if you're disabled, less able, got an impediment. I'm thinking of access and equality for all. It's just not going to be boding well. Others will be left out in the cold because they can't jump through these fucking hoops. Is what I'm seeing as well.
Fucking hoops.
More hoops and Sonic the Hedgehog on the Master System. I use.
Yeah, just going back to the UCC and the question. Here's my opinion.
Yeah.
Is that the United Kingdom clearly is on the US SEC, right? Securities Exchange Commission. There it is, floating for all to see. Therefore, I would contend heavily that UCC is clearly applicable on those grounds, remembering that's what we're dealing with.
In financial, commercial, it is maritime admiralty and so forth, and the commerce there, public and private. So we have different horses for different courses, don't we? Transfers, cash, money, promises, credits, loans, fucking bonds, and etc. So with these areas, then, you can pretty much. I can't think of a saying, but there's not horses for courses really, but are you talking my language? So there's a say, that's the saying, are you talking my language in business? You're talking my language when we're talking about money. So all we have to do is find out, because of the levels of credits, money, cash, currency, intrinsic, non-intrinsic, and the values, the bonds, the assets, the offshore tax havens, the negative selling of, what did I post the other day, a story about bonds being sold and etc., and the negative figures associated with that selling.
Yeah, negative yield.
Okay, so it's the first time, and that was late May when that was a story from. So we are looking at in a time where we've got to keep an eye on things. These lot will maybe do it the way that they think is going to be better for them and their friends. Is it fit for purpose? Is a question I mentioned. Are things fit? Well, yeah, if you're looking, well, what's the question now? Is it fit for what purpose? Lining your friends' pockets, furnishings, and offshore tax havens, and what? Well, shall we open a cannabis farm now then, John? Yes, I've always wanted a big old weed farm, haven't you? Yes, Claudio and Cuthbert would come down, and we are absolutely laughing at us from their castles that we've built and paid for and sweated blood for. And it's hysterical how they think, like these three Muppets, a butcher, a baker, and a candlestick maker. That's me being polite there. I was there for a good 10 minutes rewriting that title for them three monkeys, Cummings, Johnson, and Gove, defending just the indefensible. Basically, it just goes to show you, much like when they went to Congress and said about nicotine and tobacco and cancer. And lied, they will lie through whatever, until they're told otherwise. It's just a mockery of ourselves. To some extent, it's like they want riots. They're doing things so egregiously, shockingly bad that it will crash the system or bring out riots, like is America's turbulence there. We're not going to touch on that, but that seems to be almost going out of control over this way if we're not careful. So we have to keep eyes and be wary of how we can help contain mass hysteria as well, I suppose, because rather than let shit get out of control for no reason, that'd be a terrible waste too if we just all suddenly got hysterical for something which it didn't. How can I put this? We have to respect we are one family, and that's not debated here to be debated. But what is what's we always say in law, don't we? With fines, fees, and forfeits, they've got to be proportionate. Is when the alleged fine and the forfeit is disproportionate to. If you owed £20 and now they're looking at imprisoning you for 10 years, you're like, hang on a minute, I only owed 20 quid, why am I going to be banged up for 20 years? That's disproportionate. So we always keep things proportionate is what the key is, and I sometimes think that we have a select member of our family that don't always see things proportionately like we do, and they're easily ignitable, and I pray for them ones is what I'll say, Kev.
Yeah.
I'll pray.
Fair comment, mate.
Yeah.
It's all a bit difficult.
Yeah.
As I say, it's I'm staying away from the subject at the moment.
Yeah, we are aware of it. I'll just say that, but we are also.
I'm very aware of what's going on. I'm just.
Yeah.
It's not something. I think it's all too heightened at the moment in general on both sides of, and so cool heads need to prevail, and that isn't happening at the moment. So I'd rather just step back until there's a bit more clarity.
All right,
just
observing. Because I've got some good news that everybody might have forgotten about, that I've forgotten that I knew. When you don't know what you don't know, but you know what you forgot when you see it, and you go, I knew that, but I forgot it, but I didn't forget I knew it. I just needed a little nudge. Too much stuff in the brain can't all be held by one man. This isn't like Mr. Data from Star Trek, but somebody's written on a website, this comes from Sister Mia, may I say blessings and thanks for, that rings true with something Richard Ansar told me that was too advanced for my time, that went in and went straight back out again, and I only held on to a bare bones, and the bare bones is in this little post here that you'll need to find. It's in the forum, money, debt, credits, intrinsic value, endorsement, A for V, bills of exchange. You'll find I've started a topic, UCCs in the United Kingdom is in the money forum basically. And it says with UCCs in the United Kingdom, the short answer to that question is no. Somebody's wrote from a WordPress site that I've given you the link for. The Uniform Commercial Code does not exist outside the US. Well, they're not talking maybe court side of stuff and like what we have explored, because I'd argue there would be a language and a financial governance, if not a legal parameter governance to some extent, like the codes will not be forced to perform to contracts that are the codes and the benefits too, so they are a legal governance as well as a commercial enterprise of financial sector as well with them, because it's about money ultimately. They're not there for fun, and they are there to make money, but they're also there for law governance, and we use them for protection of, so reservation, retainment, etc. So they say that they have a system in the UK for registration of secured transactions and the registration of mortgages and charges against company debtors. Company debtors are debtors registered within the UK at Companies House, including limited companies, limited partnerships, limited liability partnerships, and Societas Europea. Never heard of that before in my life. I shit you not. So
European associations.
Yeah, Companies House defines a mortgage as security for the payment of a debt or other obligation that passes property normally, but no right to possession to the person to whom the mortgage is given. A charge is defined as security for the payment of a debt or other obligation that does not pass property or any right to possession to the person to whom the charge is given, While there is a distinction made in the terms mortgages and charges are registered and searched at Companies House in the same way, it says in this article. News to me, but not news to me, but hearing Richard ringing back thinking, oh, that was important, that I didn't know how important back then, but it's relevant is what it is, fam, for backup of. You get the reference to charges in this article, including in both mortgages and charges. So I won't read it all, but there's some nice little bits about the UCC and the Companies House and what happens in, and the similarities and differences with US Uniform Commercial Code. In some ways, the registration of charges and mortgages in the UK is similar to registration under the US Uniform Commercial Code secured transactions involving tangible and intangible property where possession of the collateral does not pass the secured party and are publicly registered, and that registration determines the property of the lien or lien, Lien. In other ways, it's quite different. A certified copy of the instrument creating the charge security agreement must be filed. Then blah blah. There's a time limit, and it's got variable parables. But then it's got, listen to this, mother truckers. It's got the links to .gov.uk, government organisations, Companies House about, and it's got a link to section 870 of the UK PGA from 2006, which has got the property guidance and debtors and the legislation. So they're actually saying that UCC may not actually, and these could be the links to say that it doesn't actually run here, and that was from Mia. So I want to say to back Mia up there that we are on about now then Crown, and this man that's wrote this isn't an endorsed financial accredited London city financier. He's a WordPress owner is all I can tell you. So he's like us, a self-scholar at the best. No disrespect, but keeping it real. So he may not know, the writer of this, what I've just given to you there about charges, property, mortgages, distinctions, Companies House, etc. You can find the link in the forum, money banking for UCCs. It's easily found. Search the forum UCC and it will bring this bit up there, and you can find out about the codes and uniform codes that I've just read from a global.com blog, the ultimate cheat street and whatever it was. There's a link there for it. So I haven't stolen it, I've just collated it, because what I find is these websites disappear after 6 months, a year, and what I was reading has disappeared. So I'll share there, I scrape it and then I'll dump it, so then you can go to the original for however long it's there, and if it disappears then you've always got it to reference here. So I yield. Interesting times, Kev, interesting times, my brother.
Indeed. I would say also that the UPU, which is a worldwide code, if you like, universal, definitely incorporates UCC. So another angle. I'm not saying I'm right.
Yes, you are. Yeah. You twat.
Okay, right. I know everything. You know, fuck off.
That's it.
When you're looking at the big picture with the UPU and that, which everybody, they're all signed up to, the whole fucking world, that incorporates it. So I just think it probably depends on where you're at, with what department or what judiciary or, what area you're playing in as to what you can utilise. But that's sort of par for the course anyway.
You're not going to walk into your co-op and try and use UCC like old Shadow Dynamics tried to use the Bills of Exchange to pay for his co-op shopping.
Fuck off.
He tried to pass a promissory note across and pay for it that way, and wondered why they got a bit get out. You are trying to steal these. But yeah, it's down to you're right, it would be. And if we remember, we would send an officer to the court in a form of paperwork, to be fair, standing in front of a judge saying I do not consent. Is a bit too late, so we would send the paperwork. Yeah.
Like by the
Old Roger.
having it.
Old Roger, that's it. Blessings, he's right there with what he means, what he says. So they claim our souls in the unum sanctums, and then they claim the venue when they've got the courts, and then they want the property, us to give the name, the third jurisdiction, Roman doctrine of discovery, and we found out it's quite a. We go there for honour and to discharge, but really you go there and you get silently slaughtered. What?
Yeah, there's no where you're going with your honour. That's the only honour that's going to be there. What you bring. There's no honour in that place whatsoever.
It's not that we're here to be cantankerous old men in our time that demand attention. No, it's not at all. It's just having a laugh is having a laugh, but being a twat is being a twat, isn't it? Yeah. And if
never the twain shall meet.
If you are in any doubt, just please go and watch the Three Stooges. God Lord, I wish someone does a voiceover for that and could do some kind of Rasta Boris part 2.
Anybody feeling like they've been a bit of a cunt, go and watch that. That you will understand. You're not a cunt at all. There's 3 cunts there right in that video. They're proper cunts. Excuse my French.
Outstanding prize would go to those 3.
It's embarrassing though. They must, as I say, if you think about it, what do they think of the average person out there? And these are conservatives, so really, the people they're sending their message to aren't really the working classes as such. So how stupid do they think these people are? To come out with such nonsense, it's embarrassing. It's nearly as good as, nearly as funny as Rasta Boris. That's how bad it is. It's that bad. It's hilarious.
I want to slip in
Sorry.
a bit of a cowpat as we're talking the shitty's end of the stick at this time, but I found some notes in the forum archives when I was skimming. And, in English law, a fee simple or fee simple absolute is an estate in land in a form of freehold ownership. And there's a freehold ownership there. A freehold. I love how I'd look at common hold, freehold, leasehold. There's lots of holds that you can have a look at the hold that you have on the land. Common hold, I believe, is the one I've got some notes for, and ownerships. The man has rights and titles too. So the allodial we was looking at, and fee simple, absolute fee simple, absolute real estate. It's reference to a land may be owned in common law countries, and it's the highest possible ownership interest that can be held in real property. Allodial title is reserved to governments under a civil law structure. The rights of the fee simple owner are limited by government. So I've got some, sole possession rights, titles, and the divine line of kings going off at the minute. There's a lot in the mix since 1066, William the Conqueror, the Doomsday Book, the Unum Sanctum, and the Doomsday Clock is back on. Tick tock, tick tock. We're nearly there. Are you loving the ride? I'm joking, but I do feel the urgency when we look at those 3 idiots and listen to the news and start believing it. What?
It's bad out there.
Rights, titles. Either you're born with your rights and they're innate, or you claim them from the Creator. And
don't go asking these pricks for them. They none of them have got any authority to give them or take them away.
Settled land. I've looked at that. Land territory, land and law territory. Whatever put is the control over an area of land. The occupancy, they occupy, don't they? Territory, military again, occupier. You the occupier legal terminology, but you're not the occupier of the tenant of the house, you know, at the moment, but the territory is the control over an area of land founded upon legal principles found in the private international law. When I was on about Matt Hancock and breaking the rules of international, I've looked at quite a lot of the foundations and the workings of, and this from this gift of land, it says it here, it's private international law. From this gift of land, each individual within English law creates a trust, and once something is put into a trust, one acting as trustee is now the vested owner and in possession of the trust. The original grantor is no longer in possession, nor does the grantor have an immediate right to what was given in the trust. A trust is an equitable obligation for the benefit of persons known as beneficiaries. So that's all your legal stuff there, your persons and your beneficiaries. And the trust is an equitable obligation that binds the trustee to deal with property owned by him. And these are what the government have got mixed up in. One I want to work about here is that in English law, lands are described as herediments and are further broken down into two categories: corporeal herediments, land, and incorporeal herediments, everything annexed to those lands. So you've got corporeal, like corporal, you know, the corporal status in the army, C-O-R-P, so corp, and then O-R-E-A-L, so corporeal, corporeal herediments.
Oral, dead talk again.
Plural, yeah, the orals there as well. O-R-E, real there as well, yeah. Corporation, corpus juris, and incorporeal herediments, which are everything annexed to those lands, yet not the lands themselves. Everything that is incorporeal is fictional and can only exist within English law of jurisdiction of equity, not real. So the Doomsday Book I've got there about gave King William I the ability to create law. Gave King William the ability to create, like Paddy McGuinness, the power, King William, is in your... I'm picturing Paddy giving him that moment there because of the voices that would be needed. Or some kind of X Factor voice there. You know, the narrator from the X Factor. King William! With the X Factor music, angels in the background. The seriousness, the power to create law is in your hands, and the subject of all those that become subjects. King Greg's here now within the territory he claimed as his kingdom. So the owner of the land that makes the law of the land. So if we own the land and we listen, in the Bible, it does say that man is created from what? From motherfucking land. So if we are created from the land and we are, with the birth certificate fiasco, finding out there may be some supplementary registrations at the land registry, like the mortgages indemnification with the mortgage swindle outcomings of indemnification from the land registry of the UK there. So if we are made from the land, and let me just repeat about King William I and having the ability, because he became the subject within the territory he claimed as his kingdom, and note it would be the owner of the land that makes the laws of the land. And if we are the land and we are from the land and we are crowned at birth, then that's not too far a jump to say that's kind of why we would make the laws of our lands here, not because we're trying to get away with not paying some tickets, because the ones that do make the laws don't make any law for one, and what they do make is not something we would agree to. So we've got different things about charters and constitutions, and we common law, the Roman Church in itself, the monarchy, and then Admiralty Maritime, and kings and King Johns and whatnot, tenure systems, and landlords and lords and earls and barons. It wasn't fair. I don't remember seeing anything. There was slavery all along there, lord manors, Game of Thrones basically, and tenures and knights and castles and manor, and not so much manors, haves and have nots. So forgive me for saying that, it wasn't strictly equality for all, was it? So there's a nice write-up there in the .com about some of that for you. How you would care.
How do you know he's a king? He's the only one not covered in shit.
Oh, yes.
Great help, I'm being repressed. Come and see the violence inheritance system. Oh dear. Yeah, it would have been great times then, scrabbling around Mum. And the cook in a pot with got some soup.
I always get the shit jobs.
Yeah.
What else have we got? Is there any news or anything that you want to speak about, or anything that you've seen?
No, well, we discussed everything, sort of, say, that little video that I was speaking to about the other night, and I discovered it, so that had to go straight to the Gove and the other idiots. No, there's not a lot going on. There's been a bit going on, but nothing really to report to anybody about, apart from, say, documents updated. As I say, most of it seems to be telephone stuff at the moment and emails and stuff, so you can email them those as a conditional acceptance, still valid. But send it to both. Like we've always said, still email it to the DWP as well, because it is notice to agent, notice to principal. So, yeah, nothing amazing. I'm hoping to get a couple of hours in the boom room tomorrow. That's the only news I got.
I didn't
It's all about me.
I didn't see the internal memo about that one. I'll have to double check.
Sorry.
Must have missed that. Why
are you coming down?
I've got some old school beats, some dog beats. Oh wow, that's good. Then yeah, get yourself out there and up there.
Yeah, just a few things to do. I had a sort of another idea of speakers, so I think I'm happy with that. So I've just got to hook the other set of speakers up at the sub. Sounds all right in there as it is. I've only got 2 speakers running. There'll be 4 and a sub in there.
It is magical.
I know, looking.
Yeah.
And yeah, just I tell you what, I've really spent a lot of the time is in record box, because it's just like being the players. Obviously, you've got to have your headphones on. You can mix all the tracks. You can do everything you can do with the decks in there, and then of course while you're at it, you can set all your cue points and loops, and then whatever you want to do. So it's been spending a little bit of time in record box, I must admit.
That's good. No, you need to. Yeah, it's from flicking through the vinyl collection in a plastic box or a metal box, flight case box, like, and papers and things and sleeves everywhere and records in wrong things from the previous rave, and you haven't sorted your box out, and you're like, no, my tune's running out, I've got a woolly sock, needles, jumping, scratching, and to all the advantages that you've got that you lose with the calamity of vinyls and needles and records and Technics. It is like some of the scratch DJs, DJ Fades or Jaguar Skills. Some of the ones I know that were doing, like, an hour of hip hop. 10 years of hip hop in an hour or something, and just shit like that.
Yeah.
It was mental, but it gives you that ability to technology. You lose and you gain, pros and cons. But I don't see, it is nice to hear some vinyls playing, but it's like what we've got with the PDFs. If we had to collect every single publication and book, you wouldn't be able to be in this research area. We wouldn't be able to. We're journalists in a way, I suppose, reporting back. Forgive me, reporting, but giving back, recoding, scribing, new scribes from what we research and find. Yeah, because it's because of the PDFs that we can get and the work and like that WordPress site there with all of the syntax, grammar, and the bits and the bobs of Lodial and the Latin and the comparisons and the law, Black's law, and the dictionaries and the Merriams and the Websters. It's just a joke what there is to actually get. So now we don't have to go to a library and sit there and all of that weirdness about libraries and just weirdness about libraries. It must just be me, but I think they're a bit weird. And then you don't have to have the physical books and order them online. You can find places now that archive them, and we collect them up and work like this, and we you can research a shitload of stuff quite fast, and I'm quite happy, how we've done that and what we're doing now with all these scribings and writings and PDFs. They are an advantage. This digital age has allowed us to, like then me control an effing and control F find a word on the page, and the shortcuts we can use to go through volumes and volumes of data has never been before man up until our point, with this technology and where we're at. So I'm happy we are where we are, and there's a lot more to be uploaded still, but I'm glad that we've got a new one from you that should help clarify, and then move forward a flowchart for others that may get lost on pathways. I think that'd be a good idea as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As I say, it's, it's exactly the same document. As I say, you'll notice the first page with the numbering's a bit bunched up. But I just, I think with the first two questions, that's really where it's at. The rest of it's still relevant, but I think the first two sorts it out.
Oh, yeah.
So it's there. You can, as I say, you can either put it in a straight text, conditional accept, and just ask those two.
Yeah.
Why not? I would suggest, just when it's going to people like Atos, then leave the schedule of fees and section 10 and everything in there. And this has got it's got Article 21, Recital 69. Stop until you show legitimate interest, etc. So it's all still there. It'll all still be ignored. But as I say, it's those two questions now. That kills it. Especially to the DWP, you might get a little bit more backlash from Atos, etc. And well, it is mandatory, which technically they're right with the DWP. So really, it's back to it's really you got to aim it at the DWP.
Yeah.
We'll see what they're going to do, but I don't, I was saying that we'll know something more by next week about. I think we understand how to get to the alleged assessors and that now. So that'll be something else that we'll bring to you and say, right, now you go off and you do this, and you read what they've got allegedly, and then go back and say, not right people. Sorry. As I say, it's all in the language they use. It's an assessment. It's not a medical assessment, and it's a medical assessment that you've had in order for you to be in the situation you're in. So that's the trickery. An assessment. Well, what type of assessment? Well, just an assessment. Well, I don't require just an assessment. I've covered it all here tonight, but yeah. What they're trying on the phone calls and everything. So that's why, as I say, you still send a copy to the entity and a copy to the DWP, or email now if you want. So if you've got you should have a function if you've downloaded that. Most computers now to convert to email. You might have to go in and do a bit of spacing and stuff afterwards. But you can just download that and then convert it. To say that's how they seem to be contacting people at the moment. I'm not saying it's every case, but certainly seems while this COVID thing's going on, it seems to be notices by email, and so notice them back and conditionally accept by email.
All right, brother. Let me have a look, see if there's any questions in the room from the boys and what
Yeah,
they're saying.
I can't see the room at the moment. I'm sitting the other side of the laptop. I'm sitting by the door. Because I didn't want to go outside and be loud.
What's Albert saying in English then?
I don't lost the one to look. It was only his 2 comments where he's having problems with it being slow. I don't know what's happened now.
I was on about Wikipedia, Financial Conduct Consumer Directive, EU moved on and noted in Wikipedia as they dismantle the last bits. They rely on end of year exit. He's talking financial, something we're not moving with the EU, we're behind the EU. What does Albert mean in English there then? I would not encourage email.
The other day, with about, if we're meant to be leaving doesn't appear the FCA up, or something along those lines, trying to simplify it.
It's all dirty. Money, business, money. Trading souls with birth certificates. That's what's going on here. The money changers, changing money with souls backing it now. Soul train. Madness. Wouldn't be so bad if you agreed to it. Ultimate trickery. The ultimate trickery. I got your soul. And when I was younger, they used to get your nose and pretend they got your nose. These ones, they got your soul, allegedly. They haven't really, but by their belief system. Anybody can say whatever they like, to be fair, but there you go.
Fucking demons.
But yeah, if we could, I am extra tired, so I've had a long, hard week. I'm going to be moving on admin-wise. I've answered about 90% of emails, so I've done well there again. Not all, but...
Fucking hell, fair play to you, mate.
I've got the documents coming on, more going to be uploaded, and notices Kev's looking at. Mia and Steve are chatting and looking at bits and bobs and involving you others. This update when we can with what we've got, and there's no point releasing stuff if it needs 50 corrections. So as much as there may be an urgency, there's no point doing anything until it's 95% right by foreman's eye. So letters, notices, proclamations, claims, titles, what titles, how you do that, rights too. This needs to be done. Provisions, alternative provisions required for, I said, inspired by the 1914 armistice. We call a truce an exit, the battle, so to speak. A truce of trust to some extent, because enough blood and heartache has gone along. I don't wish ill of any man, but suppose with old age comes tiredness, and you get tired of fighting. You think, actually, there's a smarter, cleverer, less energetic way out of all of this, and I'm going to, by Jove, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, and it's going to do my brain and well-being more good than anything. Ultimately, it's really good for the mind once you get to it.
Yeah, that's right, brother.
That's what I find anyway. I know you do, Dave. I know Graham does.
It is true.
We're into something, it spurs you on, and you know, you don't stop learning. As I say, we're sort of on top of, well, at the moment, we're still on top of the DWP stuff. As I say, the only thing they'll do is we're going to start. Now, I think now we just narrow down to who we attack straight away. And it's sounding like it's all just going to be pointed back at the DWP. So, you know, and like when we had that first meeting when we all met at Oxford, and, you know, what we've come on to learn now with the trust and equity and all the stuff you guys were promoting, that's been amazing. Where we, you know, and then the placing of the entities together, as you know, in defence of, has been very useful. Even with the DWP, I say it's not something you necessarily have to do when you're dealing with them, but I found it's more powerful. You know, once you know and understand who you are in relation to the certificate, what the certificate is, then I think you have to declare that at every opportunity. Make it clear you understand what's going on, even if they don't.
What?
We know the tricks. So we know the tricks that the DWP are up to, like turning your notices into complaints and all that. That's just, they know the writing's on the wall. There's nowhere for them to go anymore.
You cheeky
this is
monkey.
lockdown.
Aren't they cheeky? Little cheeky monkeys is what they are. Bless them.
Yes, that's the word I use them. Right, I shall now step back over the laptop.
Yeah, the boys are all
Which is
right.
on a
Consumer directive, rules and policy. Thank you, Albert. And Papillon's on about what happened with the slave token lady, Liz Nolson. Yeah,
Oh yeah, just like fucking hell. The fraudster
don't know what's going on there. She's
makes me laugh.
she's after birth certificates. If you've got any you want to send, send away your birthday person. She's collecting persons. Yeah, some kind of voodoo dance. Dead people.
Slave token lady. Well, she popped up the other week, but she soon pipes down again. She's easily dealt with.
Bless. Yeah.
Another nasty little bit of work, but yeah, God bless her little cotton socks and her soul. She's still got one, and yeah, there's plenty of it out there. One of the members put something up a few weeks back now, possibly even a couple of months back, that I brought Dave's attention to, which made Dave's day. A little post about her and calling her right out and the time she did for fraud over in Greece, wherever she is. So that says it all, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, incarceration's not always a
This
song.
attracts a lot of those types. I was just wondering if your mum out that way, Dave.
Yeah, madness. It really is. Yeah, Spain, Greece. People just.
Yeah, there seems to be a few of the strays out there, doesn't there? Another associate
Yeah.
that we know he's out there too. Not one I don't think we get on.
Yeah,
Because of the
each
kid.
their own. Each their own. It's madness, but yeah, we're all good. We've got a bit of work to be doing. I'm going to ring Albert about trusts, property, titles, yeah, and see about horses, things like that. Property moved into. Even if you was to put something in a last will and testament, it's in trust effectively because it's now piece of property with title to in an expression of a trust deed. So simply, dealing with the V5 and the registration side of things can be overwritten with a bill of sale, because if anybody wants to argue they've got title right to a property, you would argue in a court of law that those that hold the purchase transaction records and receipts would be the title owner in English law, not UK law. You would prove ownership, legal ownership now, and land and territory and ownership we've gone through earlier, but not with property title to. It was the disclosure on the V5. All right, there might be a V5 in fucking existence, and it might be validly done to their game measures, but to our game measures, what does that mean? It just means that I've said I managed this horse. It doesn't mean to say that we gave them any title, property, access rights to, and if we did and we weren't told, then that's fraud and crimes and deception and non-disclosure. So it's bullshit anyway. So we bullshit the bullshit with the bills of sale and the witnesses to a transaction and things going across, and it's all easily done. Property, letting them know that you've got a transaction and a proof of the bill of sale in English law, and you can prove in a court of law that you've got the rights and title to that property, should shut the DVLA up. And if they want to go and send agents at their own expense and liabilities to come and get you, then so be it. But that's how I've dealt with them. I've told them no such other ways. I've given them a schedule of fees, and we get into the agreement stages and kidnapping an agent. So if they really want and issue a ticket so badly that it's going to cost them a shitload of pain because they've been forewarned and forearmed and that, then it's how to each man plays his own. And some, I think, they might just leave you alone, and some, I think, they might want to make an example of you. It depends how you speak to them and how you notice them to some extent. But what they seem to think they've got can easily and quite smartly in a Hitchens style way now. Even now, I'm going to add some hitch slaps into these notices. Oh, I can feel it coming, Kev. Some hitch slaps in a notice. Come on. Shh.
Oh yes,
A little bit of
he's good,
comedy.
isn't he?
If you could
I
get.
keep seeing loads of things, and I must send that to Dave. And I think bloody hell, I'll fill his phone up with just some of it. I'm just going to put some times on and just watch that bit. It's like 2 minutes long. He's just so eloquent, and yes, he's up there in intelligence, and his language is lovely, and he's a real education to listen to. Just to listen to the way he speaks. He's good in some debates, especially when his opponent gets a little bit feisty.
Why are you doing this to yourself? No, I'm not doing it to
Yeah,
you. No, you're doing it to
yeah, that's right.
yourself. Do you ever get tired of being an atheist? Do you ever doubt yourself? And he's like, oh, well, sometimes I want to doubt myself. Yes, I'm really bad at it, aren't I? And it's just things how he deals with it. Yes, God Lord, yes. He's got some great ways, and he doesn't swear and F and Jeff and get vulgar and insult, and he wins it with a calm, structured. And if I may, like how he does it, like, and if I may, and finally I'll close down with. He just doesn't say one thing. He comes out with a barrage, a fucking list of
Yeah,
shit.
there's one where there's a beginning of a debate.
God Lord.
Goes, right, each of you will have 10 minutes for your opening statements about the non-existence of God. And Mr. Hitchens, and you're to go first, and he gets up and he says, well, I don't think I'm going to need 10 minutes to disprove the existence of God. That's how he starts.
Yeah.
Won't be that long. It's just the way he does it. It's really funny. But it's religion. Yeah, religion. Really, that's. But he's he's a real proper. It's sad he's gone. He didn't deserve that, but absolutely, one of the best modern intellectuals. Sorely missed. Rest in peace, mate.
Yes, here we go. Albert's no Papillon saying open a page for 3-letter process on the .com. We have kind of got a forum for money, finance, and the conditional acceptance is for anything. Yeah, the 3-letter process is 3-letter acceptance, conditional acceptance process, CAP, 3 cap. But you got accepted for value. You accept for value charges and things that come. So you've got A for V, accepted for value process, and we do push them already. It's pretty much in there and alive and kicking, Papillon. And this is what this is with the DWP, Atos, Maximus, and so forth. This is a conditional acceptance. So it's pretty much that's how it is. Kev, you want to echo on some of this?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the realm that Graham and I were in when we were looking at the processes. That was one of the things we were considering, and then the conditional acceptance was revealed. I think that's a fair word to us, or fair description of what happened. You're sort of cutting it down. You can go on with conditional acceptance to notice of fault, opportunity to cure, and all that. There's no reason you can't do that, and then that would become your 3-letter process, would it not? Conditional acceptance, notice of fault, opportunity to cure, or notice of default. Surely that's the thing. He wanted to go that far, but we find that, and probably more so, as David just said, Mike, financial things, yes. I think to have as many options there as possible, but we know times have moved. It's like the DCA one we've got up on there. As far as I know, I haven't had anybody come back yet and tell me any different, and that's shut all the people that have used that one. I've done that for a few people. that worked. Puts it on them. But you've got to follow the shit up. If you threaten them with the ICO and they fail to respond, or they respond with nonsense, you've got to tell them they responded with nonsense and you're reporting them, and go to trading standards and report them. Do all these things. This is where it's hitting them. If you just give them the letters and they give you it back and you don't really, you fight it out for a while, but you've got to do all these other things. Unless it starts hitting them financially, that's when shit changes, because this is all about money. All of it's about money. It's all it's fucking that they're interested in. So that's where you have to affect the money the best way you can, even if it means taking them to court.
Yeah, maybe. Right, but I'd like to wrap up if we could, and we'll have a chat. We'll carry on if that's all right, Kev. Or what? We'll say.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Showtothe.com, and thank you very much. We'll be back next week, and might see you on tube. I've got a bit of an headache and feeling quite tired now. I don't know. Maybe do that tomorrow. But yeah, we'll say bye to the. Do you want to say bye to the .com, brother? And
yeah, thanks for joining. Cheers, Albert. Michael, good to see you. I was just going to say, it's funny, every time I read Michael's comments and that, I always read him with his accent. No, I know, mate. Absolutely. I know that, Albert. We know what the game is. We know it's all bollocks. We're chasing promises.
yeah, we're getting on with some more uploads throughout the week. I've got some more documents to go. We've got this Castle Safety Defender pack to put up, power of attorney stuff to put up, but it's all coming together nicely. The notices. Yeah. We're looking at notices as well to the generals and secretaries and whatnot. So it's all going well. Nothing can be rushed, but we'll say we'll be up soon as they're ready. And thank you, much love. And thanks to Kev for his time as well. Thank you, brother.
No worries. You're welcome. It's a pleasure. I enjoy it. Is somebody to talk to? Nice. Thanks, everybody. Catch you soon.
Much love. Ciao for now.